All right, well, it looks like we're green on this side. Welcome, I'm Clint. I will be hosting this live stream today, and it's really casual. We don't have anything planned out really. I've just got a list here of portfolios, and we'll go through that. We'll take your user submitted questions. Viewers, welcome to put comments there in the chat, and we'll take those. Otherwise, we'll just go through some galleries, do some paintovers. Whatever catches our eye, we'll go with that. But we'll give a minute here. We'll just kind of chill back for a minute and let some people come in. And they can start making. If you guys just make sure, we had some audio problems last time we did this. So, give me a heads up if there's some audio issues, and we'll make sure we fix that before we go any further. But already, several of you guys are showing up. That's awesome. Hey, Pilato, Thomas, good to see you again. CS, Sergio, Aaron, good to see you. Yeah, last time I made the mistake, got the audio from the computer and the audio from the mic both picking up, so we had to fix that, but looks like it's okay. Hey, Dante, Matthias, Raul, if I'm saying that correct. Argentina, man, awesome. Thanks for joining me from so far away. I can't be too convenient for you. Got some peanuts. Okay. Is there somewhere I can drag this around? Nope, guess not. I was trying to see if I could drag the chat off of that so I could read it. Audio is good, video is good, awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just pull up a portfolio and we can start talking about it. You guys, if you haven't been here before, like I said, just type in a question if you have it, and I'll try to pause every now and then. I'll take a look at the chat and see what we got. Jason, hey man, just caught your picture this afternoon. Looks good, and you do have some more time, so if you wanted to use it. Stephanie, good to have you. All right, so I will run a random number generator here to see which portfolio we have. There is so far 127 portfolios wanting to be looked at, and it generates me number 2. Okay. So I'm going to put this in and make sure that this is an active link before I switch over to the desktop, and then we can all take a look at it together. Okay, link looks good. So I'm going to switch over to the desktop and then we'll take a look. Hey, thanks for South Korea and Sweden. Awesome, man, this is fantastic. I didn't know I had so many people from the other side of the world. It's great. Okay, as long as I have it up on my desktop, I can't see your comments, so forgive me for that. I only have my one iMac display here right now. And, yeah. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Okay, so this is the portfolio we're looking at right now. And if you want to get your portfolio in to be considered, to be looked at for one of the live streams, it's really easy. Just go to one of my videos, even after this one's finished, or go to one of my other videos and put in a link in the comments to one of the YouTube videos to your gallery or your specific piece if there was a single piece that we made to look at. And I will just put it onto my list and it'll be in the running. Like I said, these are just randomly picked. Yakov, okay, is what we're looking at. ArtStation account. Looks like he's doing mainly fantasy. So let's flip through this and see what we got. Okay, colorful, sort of cartoony. All right, tech stuff. I like a lot of attitude. There's a lot of motion in it. That's fun. Okay. But just from the outset, it looks like this person is really trying to find a style and hasn't decided what it is. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to have one specific look, but there's a point at which if you have such a varied amount of styles inside of just a small collection, it's almost like you don't know what you're doing. like you're really undetermined about this whole style thing. Maybe he just likes experimenting. That could be possible. But you have like cartoony here, and then this is definitely more realistic. This is sort of realistic but different. And this is lines with color. This one's sort of interesting approach. Okay, this is a 3D then. Okay, it's like it definitely had a different look than the others. I like the big simple shape of that. Yeah. What do we have here? Oh, this is for ArtStation's Ancient Civilization Challenge. Okay, yeah. I like this guy. That's a good design. Now, I don't know 3D, so I'm not going to tell you if you blended your edges right or whatever you do for 3D, but the simple shape of the triangle is good. The colors all stand out well in that sort of muted part. The head, the mask is pretty neat. I don't know how I guess his hand is holding the staff down there. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I like that. I think that's good stuff. Batman Blade Runner. Okay, that's cool. From just having done a Cyberpunk challenge, doing a couple of pieces for that, then I'm already sort of into that mindset right now. I mean, that's a great combination. I think with Cyberpunk, you might need more TV screens, like big neon stuff. And this is also just getting a little dark back here. I might like just a little more light on that. Or this cape. I think maybe there's a more interesting fold to that cape rather than just the simple curve there. But on the whole, it's a fun scene. The perspective is a little off here. Can I pull this directly into Photoshop? No, I need to open something first. Okay. Oh, that's not what I meant. Okay, so something to keep in mind here, if you're going to go to the trouble of doing a whole scene like this, is make sure that you have your perspective figured out. And I think it's off here a little bit. I'm going to put a new layer over here and just set that to linear dodge so that we can see it. And pick like an orange. Bring that down a little bit. Okay. So I'm just checking where this is lined up right now. This whole scene is using a 1-point perspective because you're looking directly, well, not directly, but very close to directly down. And it's definitely a downward picture. But you can see where these are all looking downwards, but they're not following the same angle. So they're supposed to all use the same one. And if we were to do that, let's say the single point should be wherever he's looking, in order of just the narrative of the scene, or put it like right down here. So if it's right here, let's use this building as a starting point and say it's right there. Let's make a new layer and just say that that is our finishing point. Then these all need to keep to that same angle. Assuming that these are all vertical, I'm assuming that these are not buildings that are leaning in some weird way. So if we could match that to the buildings, then I think that would really help just step up the believability and the professionalism of it. So I'm grabbing that building plus a little extra because I'm gonna thin it down. Copy and paste that, and then just run a distort on it. Control T for transform. And then I'm gonna just hand paint some of this other stuff real quick. So like that needs to follow that all the way down, and that's fine. We can let it fade off. I think that's a big thing with the Blade Runner or Cyberpunk is just how much atmosphere it has. I mean, there's so much literal atmosphere like fog and stuff like that. I just want to make sure that all these edges are lining up with that. And this one, you can tell that that's getting out of sync quite a bit. I'm doing a fast job. All of these tonight will probably just be fast jobs. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. I just want to get the gist across of what I'm trying to say, and then we'll move on to something else. But here, like, there's not a real reason why this needs to be fuzzy. Okay, let's turn off my guide there. So you can see how that, it's a small thing, but it helps to keep everything correct to each other. And this is where you can really use relative detail to help your image. So he's got nice sharp edges here on Batman, and that's good. And I do think that maybe the cape here could use a better shape, something a little more interesting, you know, folding out this way. Really let it break across that big area, because we have a big divide right here in the image where essentially all of this is on one side and that's on one side, and you can almost crop the image right there and have one scene, or right here and have a completely different scene. But if we were to let this cape go across that, then it feels like, you know, it's just really out there in the middle of the air, and it sort of brings the two together. Anyway, relative detail is if we can go ahead and put a little more detail on this part right here, then we will naturally attribute that same amount of detail to everything else, even though it's not actually there. We can just assume because it's foggy that we don't see the detail as much. But you really do want to ramp up the detail here. Pull up some references and see what maybe some gargoyles or whatever water spouts, you know, whatever this thing is. I can't even make out what that's supposed to be. And even on Batman, I know that he's in silhouette, but it doesn't hurt to have just a little light, you know, bouncing off of him, just to give me some form, just, you know, along the back, just a little bit. So he's not just a complete shape. When you first glance at it, it will look like a silhouette, and when you back up from the image, it'll still hold as a silhouette. But if you do want to examine it a little bit more, there is a little detail that you can pull out of it that just sort of tells you the form and what you're looking at, some of the folds and that sort of thing. All right, that was a couple of ideas on that. And you could also add in some more screens. Like I would probably put, you know, a big screen up here, and maybe probably lines of lights. You don't know what they're for, but a series of lights and some more colored lights. Maybe just going like down the side of the building. And same thing back here. This is a really big blank space. I think that we need something on that, you know, even if just a series of lights that's coming down like that. If we can't even tell what they're on necessarily, but it would still help just sort of fill that whole area in. I don't know what this is, but I'm a fan of this. It's like an oriental design on the side of the building. I don't know if it's like a big hologram or a window or something, but I would like to see that expanded out a bit more. Overall, pretty cool. Okay, well, we will turn that off. Well, actually, I'll just drop that all into a folder and we'll put the next one on top of it. Okay. Okay, let me back up. I'm going to just take a look at the chat and see if you guys have posted anything. Oh, we got a lot of you out here. Thank you so much for taking the time. Honestly, you can be doing anything that you want right now, and you're deciding to spend it with me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys get something out of this. Akemi, Atiko, I have a question of the century. How to stop being a mediocre artist? Well, I mean, that's a really broad question, but let me just throw a couple of points out to you. A couple of the things that I see that are really different between mediocre artists and either working professionals or people who will become working professionals, somebody that is really an extraordinary artist, is a couple of things. One that comes to mind is that a mediocre artist really does not invest in their art education enough. And they won't put money into getting good educational videos or books or getting classes. They try to learn by just their innate ability and no outside influence or teachers, and that's a big mistake. So don't do that. Make sure that you're getting in good quality education by, whatever means that works out for you in your situation. Something else is that a mediocre artist has a tendency to quit when they hit a wall in their image. They will get to a point and it's not working, it looks ugly, and they won't fight through that hard stage, because every image usually has an ugly stage or a difficult stage at some point, and you just got to keep going on it. And I'll tell you that can make a big difference, and you will always be faced with that in your artwork. It doesn't matter how good you get, there will be pieces that you will just have to push up against, and you have to keep pushing up against it. Something that comes to my mind when I'm fighting with an image and I'm not figuring it out and it's not working is throw more hours at it. And it's not complicated. That's all it is. You just throw more hours at it. And no piece is so difficult that if you don't throw enough hours at it, that you aren't going to be able to figure it out and you're not going to be able to do it. So that's something else. Anything else? Stop being a mediocre artist. I would say push your boundaries a little bit. A lot of mediocre artists have a tendency to only create within their comfort zone. And extraordinary artists will push their boundaries and they will try new things. They will try new approaches, new techniques, and they will try bigger and more difficult pieces. A mediocre artist will keep drawing that same thing over and over, that same genre or subject matter, that sort of thing. Anyway, well, I hope a couple of those points help, but those are some of the major points I see between the two. Hola! I appreciate that you're watching, but I'm sorry I cannot read Spanish. My Spanish is low, not too good. Greetings, amateur artist. That's about all I can make out. Denmark. Hey, awesome. Taiwan and Denmark. Ukraine. Sweet. Claim Valley, ArtStation. How do you submit portfolio for review? I mentioned that earlier. I'll just say it again real quick. Go to one of my YouTube videos. Just put a link in the comment to your gallery and just say, hey, I'd like this to be considered for the consideration for a live stream, or it's standalone video or whatever. I probably won't take any during this chat though. I already have my list, so I probably won't take any from the chat as we're going, but yeah. Question, I'm having trouble creating form. Everything looks flat and I'm unsure how to fix it. Do I have to work with overlaps? Trouble creating form? That's probably because you haven't taken the time to really study the basic forms, cylinders, cubes, spheres, and you can say cones. I toss that in there, maybe pyramid shape. And I would say just practice drawing those. Draw those from different angles, shade those from different angles. I bought a nice little set. I don't have it with me. It's back at my place. A nice little set of solid foam geometric basic forms. And they're just white, and they're a solid foam. And they're about, this big or so. And they're really great to draw from. Just set them up and draw them and get used to learning how to shade those basic forms. And that should help. Also, that can come up when, this is something else with mediocre artists and more, successful artists. And that is that using references. A lot of mediocre artists don't use enough references. And they also don't have a big enough mental library. They're not have enough skill to draw well from memory. So always look up for good references for stuff that you don't know how to do really, really well from memory. Yep. Hey, Space Iris, thank you. I'm glad you're being helped by the videos. Yeah. Thank you. Invest in courses. I invest in courses, workshops, and enjoy drawing within my interest. But when it comes to doing art for work, I feel demotivated and can hardly finish a marketable piece for portfolio. Is art not the right choice for me? Sorry for my English. Okay, let me read it again. I invest into courses, workshops. Okay, so you're doing your diligence and you're learning. And you're getting good input. You're drawing things that interest you. That's good. When it comes to doing art for work, I feel demotivated and can hardly finish a marketable piece for portfolio. No, if you like art, if you enjoy art, I would say that it's probably the right choice, but maybe we need to change your point of view on some things or change up what kind of projects you were taking. I am with you. I don't love every commission that I take. That's part of the job. So something that I started doing early on when I started working professionally is I would get that piece and then I would pick one thing about that piece that is going to become personal to me. It's the reason that I want to excel at that piece. And it's the thing that I focus on for myself. And that could be any number of things. In the past, it's been, in this piece, I really want to capture bounce light. I want to get bounce light really well, and I want to focus on that for me. And when you make it personal to you, you can put more into the piece. You care more about it, and you're going to do a better job. There's other times I want to get the metal. I want to really look like chrome metal on this. And of course, you paint the rest of it good, but that one personal thing helps to push you. Maybe it's, I want a great pose. Maybe I want a killer composition. Find something in it that you can be excited about. Not all of it. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but find something you can be excited about. And that really help carry it through. Something else I heard kind of on this topic is if you're not excited, if you don't enjoy making the piece, the viewer doesn't have any reason they're probably going to enjoy looking at it. Somehow, and I can't tell you what it is, but somehow if you enjoy creating the piece and developing it, it comes through in the end product. So try to find a way to do that. Also, if you're not feeling motivated by these pieces, then maybe instead of trying to take commissions, find a way to monetize your own personal pieces. If somebody else is picking your own commissions and telling you what you need to create, maybe that's not what you need to do. Maybe you can find a way to market your own work. So, something to consider. Drawing the figure from imagination. Okay, this is kind of jumping around on me here. Hang on. Always experimenting with new techniques and topics, but in my portfolio I found a really different artwork, and you said this might be a problem. There's nothing wrong with playing around with different techniques and experimenting with different styles. I would just say that you don't necessarily need to put them all in your portfolio. Portfolio needs to be your professional representation of yourself. So unless you intend to really market yourself in that particular style, then maybe just leave that for yourself, your personal gallery for you. And keep your really high-end, consistent things in your portfolio. Or you could do 2 different portfolios. I have that. Like my DeviantART is a lot more broad than my ArtStation account. So on my ArtStation gallery, I have less images, and they're much more consistent to my professional work that I'm generally asked to do. While on my DeviantArt account, I have more sketches, more off stuff. So you could do that. I find that that's a pretty good balance. Yeah. You're asking what program is this? That is Photoshop. I'm working in Photoshop CC, and it's a version where you, I would say you rent it. You subscribe to it. You can download the program and you subscribe. I think it's for about $10, $15 a month. So, yeah. All right, we're getting a lot of questions. I love that you guys are posting so many questions. This is great. I will do more portfolio reviews, but if you keep asking good questions, I'm going to keep answering them, and hopefully you enjoy that. What's my opinion on work-life balance? Do you think artists should spend most of their time working and studying, or should they also spend time on other hobbies, friends, and so on? You have to have a work-life balance. I'm not here to tell you I've got it figured out. But it is easy for something to get off. I think a lot of us artists are just passionate about what we do, and it is easy for us to really start spending too much time in it. So, yeah, it is important to spend time on other hobbies and have friends and stuff like that. You've got to have something to balance it out. It's just not emotionally healthy for you to only be doing this one thing. I like to get out. I like to go hike. I like to spend time with friends. And I like to work on other projects. So, yeah, there is a reason that 9 to 5 there's really a good idea behind that. You can set aside kind of a lot that in your head. There's got to be a point where you can turn off, because if you never turn your head off and you're not, on casual time, you're not on work time, then it creates a level of stress in your life that's not healthy. And you can't keep that up. I've done that before, where I was basically just working 7 days a week, and yeah, you can make some headway, but it really did start affecting my health, and it started affecting my emotional health as well. And honestly, some of my relationships just with family and friends started to suffer, and that's not worth it. So, yeah. Cardrasa, if I do enough portfolio reviews, they'll let me out of art prison. Yeah, this place, it's just a concrete wall. It's a recording studio that happens to have this wall. And this is the furthest that the internet cable reaches, so this is where I have to set up my table. But honestly, it's a pretty good place, and I do some video work here for the guy who records, and he lets me use it because I'm helping him. Yeah. Any art book recommendations or tips for getting into digital from traditional art? Okay, I just completely moved the chat too far there. I have bought a tablet, but I haven't used it yet. Great question, Nabby767. Honestly, I've been thinking about doing a video on that exact topic. I've got a couple of people asking me about that, digital from traditional art. Search YouTube. I know that people have some videos out there. I forget whose it was, but I did come across one the other day. And I did come across a book. I would honestly, okay, I will go ahead and mention CubeBrush. CubeBrush, if you have not been out there, go check them. Someone out there probably has a good video on that. Or you might also check Ballistic Publishing. And I want to think that they have like a digital painting 101 book that might be helpful. So if you do have a tablet and you haven't used it, make sure you are working the tablet with a art program that recognizes the pressure sensitivity that you get from the tablet and not just an on-off like a mouse. Otherwise, the tablet really isn't gaining you anything. So for instance, Photoshop, make sure that you got, Photoshop where it'll recognize that sensitivity. Otherwise, yeah, I'm afraid I just don't have one. I haven't looked out for one. I wish I could do better for you there, man. Should people even bother posting on DeviantArt anymore? Yeah, I don't see a reason why not. I mean, I started my portfolio out there 10 years ago or so. And I don't know that it does as well for me anymore. I just think it's so huge that it's easy to get lost. But in a world where you're just trying to be seen and you're trying to get some eyes on your portfolio, more the better, right? And the thing is, some people have certain sites they use, and some people have other sites that they use. So if you use DeviantArt, you're going to get the people that go to DeviantArt. And there's some people that will only go to DeviantArt and they won't bother with ArtStation, or vice versa. So if you can have a DeviantArt and an ArtStation and a Facebook, art page and an Instagram and a Twitter, whatever, then you're just going to be covering a bigger base. It's harder when you get, more accounts and that you have to keep all of them up at the same time, but it doesn't hurt. I still get offers fairly, at least once a month. I get a commission offer. I don't usually take it because I'm busy, but it still attracts attention out there. So it's worth trying it. I would suggest. It's free. I mean, doesn't hurt. Clint, how you become working with commissions, or people just come looking for you? I picked up a couple of little commissions actually through the DeviantArt account. ArtStation wasn't out there, and the pre-ArtStation site, I cannot remember the name of it, but it wasn't out yet. So I got a couple of people interested from that, and I got a couple of small commissions. And then I went and applied for the Magic artwork. And once I started doing work for them, I started picking up a lot more work. When other companies saw that I was doing work for Magic, I don't know, give me legitimacy or something, so they felt more safe in contacting me. And I think more people keep eyeballs on who's working with Magic, and it sort of shortens their time, right? I mean, it's easy for an art director to just look at who another art director has hired instead of having to search the whole wide web themselves. Somebody else is doing their work. Okay. Okay, you say, sorry, I'm using Google Translate. I'm 12 years old. I try very hard to be good in art, but I see people better. How do I try this? How do I achieve this is probably what you're asking. Drawing a lot, I would say there's some good drawing art books out there. Really depends your level. Pick up I don't know if they have it in what your natural language is, your first language. Like Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain has some real good practical stuff. I would suggest you just learning how to draw in pencil first. You don't necessarily need to draw in digital to begin with. I think you gain more from learning in traditional medias to begin with. So pick up like Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, How to Draw What You See. Those are really good foundational books, and they're good exercises. So I would start with those. You can even take a look at the books. Christopher Hart does more cartoony sort of comic book how to draw stuff. And it is more stylized, but honestly, he's got some good information in there, and he teaches good form, and he teaches good, simple composition and stuff. So check him out, as well as Mark Kessler, and he's got some good books. You know what? I'm going to jot down some of these names for you. We have Mark Kessler from Imagination Station. That is one of my favorite books with him. We have, who was I saying? Mark Kessler, How to Draw What You See, and Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. Those are all good suggestions, and watch videos. And I would suggest drawing plenty, at least 50% of what you're drawing, please draw from life. And then the other 50%, you can just be making up whatever you want, your own characters or places, that sort of thing. What do you practice at the moment, and did your way to practice change over time? Yes, what I practice and how I practice has changed over time. Most of the work that I do now, most of the time when I am drawing now, it is for some professional reason. So I don't have as much time to practice as I used to. What I used to do was I used to do a lot of portraits. I really liked drawing people when you get good at drawing portraits. So I would buy magazines. And there's a lot of magazines that have full face ads. So you just go to the used bookstore, grab a pile of magazines. This was before I had high-speed internet, so I couldn't just go find pictures anywhere. And just pull out a page. Maybe it was an ad for perfume or hair product, I don't know. Just whatever had a good face photo. And, I draw it. And then I get another one, and I draw that. Get another one, I draw that. I also did still life studies, did several still life studies. I'd take a easel outside and I'd do pastel oil paintings of plein air landscapes and trees and rocks and all that stuff. And I'd copy some other artwork. I'd go through another art book. I learned, colored pencils. I've got a how to draw in colored pencil book and just go through all the exercises. And I got Bridgman's Guide to Drawing from Life book for, anatomy and human proportions, that sort of thing, and just start copying some of those. That's probably not the best idea, just copying them, but that's some of the things I do, or did. Nowadays, when I practice, I'm usually playing around with experimenting with light, so I'm just trying to capture different light. I like doing some environment concepts are fun, character concepts, just doing little sketches in my sketchbook to try to come up with random shapes. I'll make a random shape and fill a character in to meet that shape, and that's kind of fun. Somewhere here it told me how many people are on the stream. Oh, it does right there. Okay, cool. I have like twice as many people as here as last time. That's awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. And yes, we will be giving away $25 of QBrush dollars to be spent on QBrush.com. I really do want to appreciate them and thank them for doing that. They contacted me and they wanted to know if I'd be interested in doing a giveaway on the stream, and I would. Now, I sell my videos out there at QBrush.com/swatches. But not only do I sell my stuff out there, I've bought a dozen different products from the site, different educational art videos. I was talking about what do I do to, continue my art education and, better my own stuff. Hey, I go out buy other videos and I watch other people. I've bought several different videos from the guy who started QBrush, Mark Burnett. He's honestly got some good stuff. If you do win, or if you don't win, and you do want to go find some good videos, Mark's got some good ones. And he also, if you buy one of his stuff, he will usually run a special at some point. He'll give you like a 40% off coupon. At some point, you can go get some other stuff. There's also some really good free stuff out there. If you want to go pick up some good stock packs for photos. I did download some really nice brushes the other day. For concept art, it was like buildings and random shapes and stuff. So I would go check them out. But we won't do the giveaway right now. I'm just going to let you know that. Okay. Any book recommendations or tips for getting digital art? Okay, yeah, moving down. Is art... Oh, wow. It keeps doing that. Is ArtStation the standard for professional portfolio hosting? I would say that ArtStation... hey, Jason. Yeah. ArtStation is probably the most professional art site out there right now. They have a good job of keeping really high-end artwork there on the homepage, and everything looks good. I'm very happy with ArtStation. They are also an excellent choice. If you want to have a professional portfolio, you can subscribe. You can pay to have a pro account, and you can set up more settings to have a more professional standalone website. It won't have ArtStation on it. It won't have any of the logos and stuff. I have one of those. I'm pretty happy with it. I did come across a glitch yesterday, though. I was trying to post an image, and I couldn't get it to go through, but I assume it's just a glitch. Yeah, I'd recommend ArtStation. If you want to have a professional place, that's a good place to start. How do you think about the 3 design matter of Bill Perkin, line sheets, and I forget how to say that, Churrasco. He said if you only had 1 or 2 of them, you get good design. If you get all 3, you get bad design. I happen to have gotten tendinitis. I'm afraid I'm not real familiar with what he's talking about there. I haven't followed his videos or books. I'm not sure where you're getting that. So I would honestly have to just go look that up. I'm not sure what. I'm not informed on that particular subject. I happen to have gotten tendinitis. Dude, I'm sorry. That's a major pain, especially for someone trying to draw. I'm sorry, man. Risk too much from drawing too much. Have you ever had trouble experiences with that? Any advice on how to improve drawing a lot for a while? I do get pain when I'm working at a Magic Grand Prix because we're doing about 12 hours a day for 3 days in a row, and I'm signing well over 1,000 cards over the weekend and drawing a lot of the other time. So my hand does really start cramping and hurting at the end of that. Anything that I recommend? I mean, one thing that I have had before is if the table is not at the right height, it can cause some problems. Like if your table is too high, it can cause problems where your wrist and your shoulder are having to set up too much, and that can cause some problems. Or if it's too low, you have to start bending over. I don't think that really applies to you, though. No, I really don't have any, not that bad. I would honestly have to say Google it and look for something that's anti-inflammatory. There's a lot of, I do like homeopathic stuff and a holistic way of fixing things. I used to be in pretty bad health, and a lot of that got turned around with just natural, eating better. And I would imagine if you got a clean diet and started drinking probably some teas that were anti-inflammatory, if that didn't take care of a lot of the problem, might not be the answer you're expecting, but if you're asking for my opinion, that's what it is. This stream is going to be on YouTube video later. Yeah, absolutely. Cardrassa, yes, it will be. It is being recorded, and it will be posted after YouTube has a chance to process it. So probably give it a couple of hours, maybe. Yeah. Did I approach magic once I felt you were good enough, or do you still have doubts? I felt like I had a decent shot. I waited until my work was equal to what I thought some of the guys were putting out at that time. And so I felt confident that my work was equal to what they did have. I didn't have any particular confidence that they were hiring at that time. I had no idea about that. But I mean, you can't be sure about that with anybody. So that's the short of it. I was confident in my abilities. I had no confidence, or I didn't really have an opinion on whether they would want me in particular, because I'm sure they had other people. No. Sir, I bought the Gumroad is very hard. I try. You say I buy books. I'm not sure what you're saying. I realize English is not your language. Maybe you're asking for where on Gumroad. I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, if you are wanting to pick up, if anybody is wanting to pick up any of my stuff, then for some reason it will not let me type. Nope, it is not letting me type anything in there. So, sorry, I can't type it in with the response, but swatchesart.com, www.swatchesart.com. That's where it is. I host them a little bit cheaper on Gumroad rather than CubeBrush, because Gumroad has a smaller seller's fee, so I can afford to do it a little bit cheaper out there. 97 people. That's great, man. Last time I think we were in the 50s. Very, very, very awesome. Thank you, and thank you for all these questions. These are fantastic questions. We're going to come in. Approach. What is a strategy for developing art skills effectively or efficiently? For example, a bodybuilder would create a plan to train specific parts every day of the week. How do you approach art training? If you're wanting a more structured approach, I would honestly go look at some of the online art courses. You could go look at like the CGMA's, Computer Graphics Master Artist? CGMA, go look it up. I forget what it stands for. They have some stuff, and go on ArtStation. There's other sites that offer online art classes by some really good professionals. So that's not a bad deal right there. Or get in on a mentorship if somebody's offering that. Those are all really good. Or if you want to pick a subject and learn a subject, then pick a book, pick a series of videos, and just work through it. Something else that you could do if you want to sort of set a plan out for yourself more long term is look for, I really wish I could type in this. I don't know why it's not letting me. Look for, what is his name? Noah Bradley, Bradley, Bradley. Noah Bradley has an article on, I think it's called Why I Don't Recommend Art College. You could Google that, and also Google IMHO, in my humble opinion. I think that's the name of his blog. It's a blog post where he outlines, if you did not want to go to art college, this is a self-study course for $10,000 that will give you as good, if not better, art education than a college would. And I agree with practically everything on that list. He did write it several years ago, so some of the links or some of the courses that he suggests might not be accurate, but it is a really good framework to work off of. So I'd suggest go looking that up. I would, really follow up, and I agree with him on all those points. Yeah, art college. I hear far more people that come out of art college being disappointed with it than people coming out and being really excited and really feeling like they got everything they needed to learn. I keep getting people, even on my Patreon, one of my students that went through an art college and just can't get work in the industry because they didn't actually teach him what they wanted in order to work professionally. Okay. Got a Gumroad. I think there was a book. Yes, my Gumroad is gumroad.com/ I think I set it up before it was Swatches. Just go to swatchesart.com. That's a hot link to take you over to, it's a referred link. It will immediately take you to the Gumroad account. So my Gumroad account is just under the name of Swatches Art. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good point. Lumen suggesting gesture drawing. Yeah, that's another little practice that you can do for free. There's several sites out here if you Google for them. I forget the name offhand, but they are online gesture drawing sites. And what you can do is you can pick male or female, like what time you want, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And it has a slideshow of images in its database, and it will just bring one up there, and you can sit there in front of your computer, sketch it out, and because it's on a timer, it'll automatically load a new one at whatever interval you set. And that's a good practice. You can do that every day. You can do that every other day, whatever you want to do for your art education. Or if you want to do longer studies, whatever. You can do those in pen and ink, you can do them in pencil, do them in digital if you have another screen that you can look at. That's a good practice. I currently practice anatomy. I have some problems working out my mistakes. Is there somewhere I could reference or get some direct feedback? I ask my artist friends for feedback, but they try not to be mean, so I get confused. Yeah, sometimes asking your friends doesn't help a lot because they just want to tell you what a good job you're doing, or they might not know themselves. Is there an art teacher around there that you could get some feedback with? One of the things that you can do when checking anatomy, and you've probably heard it before, but it is accurate, it still works, which is look at it, you're drawing in a mirror. Or if you're working digitally, flip it horizontal. And that's a great way to check it. Or just really taking the time and examine back and forth between your subject matter. If you're not drawing from reference, then get reference. If you don't know what good anatomy looks like, then you've got to have good, accurate anatomy so you can compare it against that. So what I would suggest doing is probably getting a reference and drawing that reference. And then in order to really help you understand what you're drawing, and you're not just being a copyist, because you're not going to learn very much at all from being a copyist and just copying the reference, get that same pose and draw it from a slightly different angle. And then that will force you to really have to think about what you're doing. By drawing it the first time the way that it is, you will get the idea of the proportions and kind of the lighting and the general shapes and the pose going on. But when you have to draw it again from a slightly different angle, that means you have to think about it three-dimensionally. You have to start working out how things overlap and work with each other. Yeah, ArtStation is a little intimidating. ArtStation is great if you want to be able to just refer people to your gallery. It's unlikely that somebody is going to just be browsing ArtStation and find your stuff, because the algorithm works to filter only this really cream of the crop images up to the top. I rarely have any of my stuff on the front page, or, my stuff is difficult to find out there myself, so don't worry about it. But if you're going to link somebody to your gallery, then it's a good gallery because it does look good. Do you still do traditional work, or are you exclusively digital these days? Also, your favorite traditional mediums? I still do a little traditional work just for myself. My favorites are just pencil sketching and probably soft pastels. I like oils, but I'm not sure that I don't like soft pastels even more. So I usually use Rembrandt pastels, not oil pastels, but I also use hard pastels a little bit. They can give you a slightly different look, and sometimes you really need that hard edge that they offer where the Rembrandts won't. Do you do Inktobers, Clint? I have had the best intentions of doing Inktober, but to be honest, I just have never completed it. Maybe this time we will do an Inktober, and I'll do some videos about it and, put it on my Instagram and my Facebook. So I appreciate the reminder. I haven't. Maybe this year I will really stick to it this time. I love the idea though, and I love following people who do it. Does magic take away the lion's share of your work day? It depends how many pieces I take. When they are about to send out a new wave of commissions, because they only do, like they come out with a new set of cards every so often, and so they send out and need 150 or 200 commissions done basically at one time. And they will say, how many images do you want of this block? And I usually take just 2 to 4 maybe. And when I'm working all on that, then yeah, that can take your normal full work week. However, within the last month or so, practically my full-time job has just been Swatches. Whether it is, well, most of it is on my Patreon because I'm doing at least one video a month on that, or I'm making a new ebook. And so I'm making a new product every single month and putting it out there and trying to do the live stream new videos here for the YouTube account and doing live streams for Patreon and doing live streams for this and just trying to keep contact and communications and answering you guys' questions, whether on, and I've got all the platforms like, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and DeviantART and ArtStation and Patreon, and that takes up a lot of my time. Do you prefer to use a screen tablet or a regular one? I have not had the luxury of working with a screen tablet. If you're talking about probably a Wacom Cintiq, I do not have one. I have not worked on one. I would like to get one at some point. And yeah, that I can't really say. Lumen, tell me about it. My bad health. My bad health was I didn't really feel bad. I was just really tired all the time. So what was going on is I dealt with depression for a good 7 years. The first year was absolute crap. I mean, it's the reason that people hate depression and why it's so absolutely terrible. Very, very bad. Hard time getting out, spending any time with friends, and was not motivated to do anything. No emotional energy, no physical energy. I'd sleep for at least 12 hours a night, and every night, and I'd wake up the next day and feel exhausted, and I would still have to take an afternoon nap because I was still so tired. And a friend recommended some products by Plexus. It's a company that focuses on balancing your blood sugar and getting a balance for the bacteria in your gut. I went back and because it worked so well, I took the stuff for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, after 7 years, my depression just completely went away. And I didn't have to take any drugs. It just was an imbalance of bacteria and chemical imbalance in my body. And once that got fixed, all of a sudden I started feeling a lot better. I had a lot more energy. I started training, and I ended up doing a 10-mile Tough Mudder obstacle run. And I started giving a crap about my artwork again. And the artwork quality that I was doing started going up considerably. And my clients started noticing that, and they started, Magic started giving me bigger projects. I started working on Planeswalker pieces. I started working on marketing pieces. And I started caring more about what my goals were. So that's really where Swatches started getting kickstarted. And I started putting more time into it and putting out more videos. And eventually I started my Patreon, and all of these goals that I had wanted to do for years and years and just didn't have the motivation to do. I started doing those. And yeah, that's what I dealt with for a long time, and it turned around. If you want to try it, I completely endorse Plexus.com. Look up the stuff Triplex. It's the 3 products that deal with the bacteria balance in your gut and with the blood sugar imbalance. The blood sugar is really what made me just crash in the middle of the day. And what I learned later, and this is kind of going off on a tangent, but a lot of people don't want to talk about depression. A lot of people don't want to talk about how bad it sucks. And the fact is that's terrible because just personally, one-to-one, I've talked to people about it, and a lot of people deal with it, and they just don't want to open up about it. So if I can open up about it a little bit, and any of you 100 people out there watching right now, watch this and make an effort and try this, and it helps you, then it is completely worth it. Because I don't want anybody to have to go through that crap. Depression is absolute misery. So, try fixing it that way first before you, try a lot of drugs that'll mess you up later. Anyway, getting back to this. What else do we have? Discipline is very important for an artist. Absolutely it is. May I know how you manage or schedule your daily time? Okay, I tried to move that down. It just loves jumping on me. Man, okay, I'm getting way far behind here. I don't have a real set thing. Get up in the morning. I usually take some time to, just get up, get around, do my Bible study, and maybe do some workouts, some fitness stuff. And then I try to keep a sort of 9 to 5. Usually it's more like an 8 to 5 though. And then, make some time to spend with people you care about, meeting up, spending some time with my girlfriend and getting some exercise and that sort of thing. I don't have a lot. If you want to know more about discipline, okay, let me throw this out there for you. Self-discipline, motivation, and scheduling your daily time. A lot of really positive outlook that I have on that and things that I've learned about that I've got from Brendan Brouchard. He has a channel here on YouTube, and I would suggest going out there. Again, I don't know why this will not let me type. That would be, maybe if I hide the chat and open it back up, it'll let me type. It is. Okay, that worked. So let me type that out. Brendan Brouchard. I think I'm spelling that right. Brouchard. Motivational and I'll just put that. Really good videos on self-motivation, achieving more, scheduling your time, getting more out of your time. Really good suggestions on that, so go watch his stuff. He does a better job than I would explain all of it. And Sana, hey, glad. Thank you. Glad you like this stuff. Do you know graphic design? Yes, I do. I worked as a graphic designer for a good 8 years or so. And I worked in an office and I worked freelance. So, yes, I know all about graphic design. No. I've done everything from laying out magazines, catalogs, CD covers, book covers, book interiors, websites, product labels, all of that stuff. Don't like doing it anymore. I got burned out on it. Have a question regarding forms. How would you go about starting from breaking things down to basic forms and then adding complexity to it? How would you go about starting breaking down basic forms and adding complexity to it? I think you just have to, that's really practice, and that's really learning observation and being able to look at something complex. And I think a good way to practice that, and that's not really a question I've thought about in those terms before, so I'm having to process it a little bit. How would you go about starting from breaking things down to basic forms? I would do it in reverse, and then you can do it backwards when you're doing it from scratch. So get something simple like, get something complex like a car or a truck or a house, and do it in the simplest form that you can, which is probably a cube for any of those things. Let's take a semi-truck. Draw a semi-truck from one point of view, from one form. Then draw it with maybe 5 forms, and then just do multiple versions where you are getting a simplified version of it and making it more complex. And then when you're having to work from scratch, what you can do is then you'll know how to think in the backwards terms. Hopefully that answers it. But yeah, getting something complex, simplifying it, and working your way back to it. And then when you can work on your own and you don't have a reference, you'll have a better idea how to do that. Jay Yashar mentions schoolism is good. Yes, schoolism. That's a good option right there. You're talking about if you're wanting some training and how to go from learning to being professional, and you want some help. In the previous question, check out schoolism. Yes. Do I have any opinion on art schools? Who would you recommend? Are they a waste of time? Across the board, I will blanket statement and say I don't recommend art schools. I just don't. Most of the stuff they teach you, well, I'll say this, most of the people coming out of art schools do not have the skills necessary to actually make a living as an artist. And I honestly think you would learn more applicable information at a faster rate, at a cheaper rate, if you do some of the things like Noah Bradley recommended in his article. And there is the, what is the one in California? It's like Pasadena School of Design. Man, it's not coming to me right now. There's one out there that's really good. And if you want to go to one, I'd recommend it. But it is really expensive. So if you're up for it. If money's not a problem, then you could go to art school. So, a good art teacher is invaluable. Absolutely. Just because somebody has a degree doesn't mean that they can teach well. And just because somebody's a good artist doesn't mean that they can teach well. But if you can find somebody that is making a living at it themselves and they can teach you, then that is what you're looking for. Just a rule of thumb, if a teacher ever tells you to do something, to fix something or do something a certain way and cannot or will not explain to you the reason why, do not keep them as your teacher. Because if they cannot impart the concept of how to make the decision and why you make that decision, you're not going to learn anything. So they have to teach you the underlying concept for it to be usable to you. Now, if they cannot explain it to you, just walk out of the classroom, find a better teacher. I think you're talking to pose maniacs. Oh yeah, we're talking about the poses online that you can bring up at intervals and sketch from. Pose Maniacs is one of them. I believe that they use 3D modeled like skeletons and muscle humanoids. So that is one that you could take a look at. I think a good art teacher could be valuable. Yeah, college can be good for connections too. True, it's true. You can make some good connections in college, but there are other places that make good connections too. All kinds of different art events. So that's also an option. Do you have any passion projects that you're working on right now? Yes. Let's see. What is some of the things I've got going on? For a long time, one of my passion projects was honestly the character design book that I came out with, 2 months ago. I had that on the back burner for about 3 years, and finally finished volume 1 of that. So that is an ongoing one because I need to start on volume 2. And that's one. There is one, I want to do a book like an illustrated graphic novel style of the book of Proverbs. And I think that there's some really good imagery in that. And some of the Proverbs just have really been meaningful in my life. So that's something I'm interested in doing. There are other ones. There is a couple of stories that I would like to do, just personal stories, personal characters. And I've gathered some references for them, but I don't really have anything going on. Quickposes.com for figure studies, maybe. Yeah, that one seems familiar. That might have been the one that I came across. Quick Poses seems familiar. Okay, Justin says, I have a new daughter and a very limited time, basically lunchtimes at work and about 20 minutes before. Do you think it's realistic to think that I can improve with such limited time? Yes and no. Any time will always help you improve. The more time, of course, will make you improve faster. But consistency, it is remarkable what just a little consistency can do. So, yes, pick yourself something that, some small goals, something where you know what you're going to do before you start drawing, so that you're not going to use 10 minutes of your 20 minutes in order to just try to figure out what you're going to do. So maybe it is you pick a series of photos that you want to draw from, or maybe you get a book on learning perspective so that you have pre-planned lessons that you're going to go through, and that is a good use. Or maybe you alternate. One day you just do a 20 minutes of drawing, and maybe the next day you have a 15-20 minute video that you watch. So you're getting in good information on one day and you're putting that into practice the next day, and you can alternate that. Something to consider. We could say that the art school I want to apply for is free. It's one of the departments of university I'm studying in. If it's free and the teachers know what they're doing, look into it. That's a possibility. I had the option I did have a partial scholarship with art, but honestly, I was going to be able to learn faster on my own, so I didn't. But if that's something, if you like that structure and you think it's a decent program and you're not having to pay for it and you're already there with other stuff, then yeah, it doesn't sound like there's too much of a downside to that. Anything where you're constantly learning, that's good. Just curious, Victor says, what are your favorite things to draw? I always come back to people. Now, I love drawing a lot of different things, but I do always come back to people. I always have since I was a kid. So, I've got to say that's my main thing. I do get drawn more to the fantasy and science fiction. I've always loved those two genres. So probably something in that. I do like doing landscapes, like environments. I think those can be really fun to dream up places that could exist. And those are really good ways to play with lighting and cinematography. Those are great. How do you come up with ideas? Can creativity be trained? I'm not going to butcher your name, but that's your question. How do you come up with ideas? Can creativity be trained? Yes and no. I think a good teacher can foster creativity. Everybody has a certain amount of innate creativity. But there's a couple of bottlenecks that creativity tends to have. One of those is, and it's probably the major one, is where people do not have the tools necessary to bring that creativity to life. So it's, for instance, me, if I wanted to build a handmade wooden canoe. Now that's something I always thought would be cool to do. But I have no idea how you would go about making a handmade wooden canoe. So I could be as creative as I wanted to be, and I could have as much imagination and enthusiasm for that project as I want, but because I simply do not have the skill set necessary to bring that to life, it really doesn't matter. Now, if I were to take a class in how to do that, and then all of a sudden my creativity has an outlet, and in fact my creativity would begin to grow because of that. So one thing I would say is creativity can be trained by giving you the skill set necessary for you to have an outlet for that creativity. Another thing is a good teacher can foster a seed of creativity. What is one of the things, sorry, I'm getting a little hoarse. I'm just talking nonstop here. One of the things with creativity is learning the right questions. And that is something that a teacher should be able to do. They should be able to get an idea that somebody has, and I try to do that with some of my Paintovers, and say, I think that this is what you're going for. A question that you might ask yourself in this situation is, how could I get more about this? How could I push this further? Or asking them, what do you think is a way you could push this further? So you can get a seed of creativity, and that's all you really need is just a seed. And through the right questions, learning the right mindset of how to look at it and how to foster it, and learning the skill set of how to actually make that come alive can take that a lot further. Clint, do I know any cool places to look for freelance? I guess you're talking about commissions, projects, that sort of thing. I know a couple. It's also a couple offhand. I haven't gone out there and looked for them, so these are maybe not all, and these can't be all. You can look on, we're talking about ArtStation. ArtStation does have a board, a commission board, a jobs board. A lot of those are actual full-time positions at different game companies, movie studios, that sort of thing. So you can look out there. You can also look at, I think Imagine Effects Magazine has a commission job board out there. DeviantART has a commission board, but I'd be leery about that. A lot of those people are just wanting like super cheap commissions. They'll pay you $5 or $10. I don't know if it's worth your time, but if you sift through it, maybe you can find something legit there. Those are the only ones I know offhand. I would have to, Google it to find something else. I know I'm going to pass down. Almost 100 viewers. Yeah, I think I got up to 101 here at one point. So that's awesome. Yeah. That's okay. Man, LSP dealing with depression in 5th year. I am sorry. It really, honestly, depression is one of those things that just can creep up on you. Like, I thought I was just getting older, and the thing is, I didn't feel like I was sick. Like, I didn't feel sick to my stomach. I wasn't in pain. I didn't have any signs. I didn't have any cuts. I didn't have, no physical, visible sign that I was ill. I just didn't feel great. And that, your mood, honestly, okay, I'm going to toss this out there. I studied after why this stuff made me feel so much better. Because I was like, that's crazy. It just made such a 180 degree turn in my life. What is it that is in that, or what did that change in my body? So it made me interested, and I did a lot of research. Your emotional state is more dependent on your gut than it is your brain. Your brain really has very little to do with what you feel. In that there is actually a neural, like your brain has a neural network. Your gut has a neural network. There is more control of your emotions through the neural network in your gut than in your brain. Anyway, look it up. There's some crazy stuff about that. Stuff that I don't know why people don't, get more information out there more. Okay, looking on. I'm going to just skip through some of these. Where am I? Pasadena Art Center. Yeah, maybe that's it. That sounds familiar. The school out in California. or am I going to be doing any more color tutorials? If you're talking about like a follow-up to the Art Fundamentals color video that I put out recently, then yes, I think I will. I had a lot of comments, people even trying to correct me about I was obviously not understanding color correctly. I think that they did not understand the scope of what I was trying to cover. You cannot possibly cover everything in color in one 15-minute video. You just can't. So yes, I do plan on doing another one, but I want to finish the Art Fundamental series first, and then I'll probably go back and do like a follow-up to some of those. Yeah. Where can I make connections? I want to start in the game animation entertainment industry. If you want to make connections, a good place to go is Comic-Cons, art cons, where they have art directors that set aside time to do portfolio reviews. One is Spectrum Live in Kansas City. It'll probably be in Kansas City next year, somewhere like that, and talk to art directors and ask them who they can recommend, see if they can put you in touch with someone, or even schedule some time with different professional artists at the event. Go up to them, just ask them very politely if they could set aside, 10, 15 minutes later in the day and schedule a time and just say, hey, I was wondering if maybe you could, put me in touch with some people, if there's anybody that you can recommend that I can contact. So those sorts of events are good for that. Yeah, Christian equals Trump supporter. Not always. The guy's kind of 50-50 for me right now. I really like some of the things he's doing, and I really doesn't make sense some of the other things, but this does not need to be a political stream. So that's all I'm going to say on that one. Did I paint that wall? No, they did the wall before I got here. Okay. Okay, you were asking me about science fiction books. Something about here. Fantasy Witcher? Okay, I think you guys are having your own conversation. I don't know what that's about. Hi, Clint. Shoot, I lost that. Do you only pick Patreons? Oh, for the portfolio review? No, this one, we just did one portfolio so far. But no, this is just anybody that has submitted a portfolio here on YouTube. I put those into a different list, and then I have a list for only patrons when I do a patron live stream. Mm-hmm. Do you paint in plein air? I have before. Unfortunately, I don't make much time for it, but I have before. Yeah, that's right. The number's gone down. You scared them off with religion talk, or maybe it was the political talk. How much do you think a starting artist should charge for commissions? Oh my gosh, good question, but unfortunately not an easy question to answer. Okay, let me just toss out a couple of thoughts on that topic, because I figure there's quite a few out there who probably have that same thought. Okay, one is you work the number backwards. So let's say that you want, well, okay, let me use some simple numbers. In US dollars, let's say that you want to make $25,000 a year, which admittedly is not very much money compared to the national, but let's just work with that number. That comes out to making about $100 a day. So if you want to make $25,000 a year, then you need to make $100 a day. And you use that number to generate what you want to charge for commissions. So somebody comes to you with a commission and says, hey, I want you to draw my barbarian character from Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm going to use that in my next campaign. Okay, fantastic. What you need to do is figure out how long you think that image will take to draw. So if that's going to take you 2 days and you want to make $25,000 a year, then $100 a day will get you $25,000 a year, and it's going to take 2 days, so you need to charge them $200. Now, you'd actually probably charge them maybe up to 50% more than that, possibly $300, because they are likely going to ask for some revisions, and there is communication time. So you had to put in time communicating to them what they want before and after the commission, and that needs to be included in the amount of time that you took to do that overall commission. So that's one way to do it. And I think that that is a good starting point. Don't undersell yourself. That's a good rule of thumb just to get started. Yep. Or if you want to think about it by the hour, you could do, if you're not thinking about your overall yearly salary, if you want to think, I need to make $10 an hour, and it's going to take you 10 hours to draw it, then of course you would quote them $100, plus that additional maybe 30% or so for the communication time, etc. So you'd come up with 130 if you thought it was going to take that long. Hey Clint, have you ever thought about working for animation? Not a lot. I would consider doing maybe character designs for something animated, or doing key art for like an animated feature film. I think that would be pretty awesome. But drawing animation, like 3D animation stuff doesn't interest me that much. I used to play around doing like little flip books, that sort of thing. If you're talking about that, I've done some of those. And I like it that you can do some little animatics, sketch out little animations and scan them in, and you can animate those in Photoshop. That's fun. But as far as a full career, no, not really. Will Clint ever get to a portfolio review? You know what? Let's go ahead and pause right there. Let's do another one, and let's pull up some pictures and see what we got, and then we'll hop back over to the stream and see what you guys are talking about. You're just giving me such good questions, such a good flow of questions. Okay, I got sidetracked. All right, so let's run another number generator and see who we get. Number 83. Scroll down here and see who we have. No, we're not going to do that one because that's one I already did in another video, so we're not going to do him twice. Okay, 104. All right, let me open that one up. Some of these links are dead by the time I finally get to them, so I've got to make sure they're alive. Or they're decent to be shown on YouTube. Some art pages are just not family friendly. Oh, to the person who asked what I was drinking, is, I don't know how you say that, Bay antioxidant infusion, mango, 1 gram of sugar, no artificial sweeteners. It's pretty good. Okay, I am not getting anything loading from that website. Let me try adjusting it. I think they didn't type it in correctly. Maybe we're getting something now. Okay, all right, let's switch over and take a look at this. Now, just to be clear, I have not looked at this before. I have no idea what's in this gallery, what I'm looking at. Christopher Bakken Toleros. I'm just assuming I'm saying that right. Okay, illustration, home, concept art. Let's pull up illustration. Okay, well, I'm going to be less useful critiquing and giving feedback on these because they are so stylized. Super stylized stuff is just a little harder to say. Can I click on these and get... Okay, on these down here I can. Okay. Okay, so let me run you through a couple of things that's going through my head when I'm looking at these. I am not going to critique the subject matter. It's obvious that he is trying to go for very surreal, kind of odd things. So I'm not going to touch that. So let's talk about the execution. I think that he could improve on the execution. It just is not real refined about what it is. So this is one case where I'd say that he needs to find a style. It's like it's sort of painted to be realistic, but I just don't buy it as being real. But it's not so stylized that I can buy it as being a really stylized image. I would suggest that he pick up one of the copies of Spectrum. Is the annual art book that comes out, big, 300 page or whatever. And there is a lot of different styles in there. And they have a good collection of more surreal artwork. I'd see this falling into a surreal category. And those people, I'm not real big on surreal artwork, but there's some people in there that makes it just really good because they pull it off so well. They have such a great look for it. They have the right style with their sort of surrealism and their sort of more eccentric subject matter. And I would suggest going out there and looking at what the options are and of how to take it and how to make that work. This either needs to be like really realistic, or this needs to be shaded in such a way that's more like a line artwork and not a realistic thing. Like this, if you're going to do an odd image like this, then I want to say that even surrealistic artwork should have some sort of point. It should have some focal point. It should have some narrative point. It should have some compositional point. This is so random that I pretty much lose all interest in it. Like I said, surrealistic artwork and super stylized artwork isn't my favorite, but if it is done right, I can still really appreciate it. It was one of the most recent Spectrum books. Last year, 2 years ago, something like that. There was a piece where there was a girl, I cannot remember the name of it, and she, it was like she had clouds around her head, and the clouds formed into being ferrets that she wore, which is, maybe it made sense for wherever it was published, but it was completely random, without a narrative, without knowing what it was about. But it looked really good, and it had a consistency, and it was really engaging. And so that can work. And I would suggest go out there and really see why the good surrealistic art works well. I also think that he just needs to learn how to use Photoshop a little better. Like, I can tell here he's not understanding how to create layers, and he's trying to keep some of his lines, but he's trying to paint around the lines to leave the lines. And I think if he understood how to set up his layers correctly, that he needs to use a multiply layer for his lines so that he can paint under them or over them with another multiply layer. And you would get just a more professional finish to it. So that's what I would suggest you do on that. I'm not going to bother doing paint over on these. It would just take too long to do all of the style changes necessary to sell that. Okay, so let's generate another one. 54. Let's see what we got with 54. Chunio. Artwork of Chun Lo, apparently. Okay, cool. All right. Now, okay, let me just say from the thumbnail, I like this. This is cool. I like this artwork. Okay, this piece here, fairly surreal, fairly odd, like there's just butterflies everywhere with this face sticking out. And that's fine. I don't have any problem with it. It's just pulled off so good. This is a professional image. Let me take a look at some more. Let's see if we have some suggestions here. All right, this is cool. I like the little work down here. This is something I talk about in some of the other images, is that you want that second read. These have a beautiful first read, big graphic shapes, understand what it is, and then they have a beautiful second read where you can take a moment and you can look at this tiger back here. And you can look at all these little pieces, the robotic arm, and you can look at the little lines in the hair. So there are extra details that pay off somebody who wants to spend time looking at more, the image longer, let's say it that way. Beautiful piece. Man, I gotta say, I might bookmark this site myself. I really appreciate this kind of artwork. So this is where he's got a nice style. The lines are still in there. So it's a line drawing with shading that's pulled off in a professional, clean manner. And that's something that the other one didn't do. The images weren't clean. So let's clean them up and have at least a professional execution of the piece, and that would help. A disturbance, like we got gunshots here. I like that combination where this image doesn't directly connect to this one. It's obvious that the styles sort of match up. But then we have what looks like, I don't know, weapon fire in the wall, which just opens up the narrative to be a lot broader than just being a pretty picture. And something else that he's done really well here is added the petals, little rose petals. Probably rose petals, I'm not sure. What they do is they give a sense of motion to a completely static image, and it helps to carry your eye across it. You want to follow those with your eye. Good work. This is what a Mad Max, I don't know, inspired by maybe. I love the new Mad Max Fury Road movie. It reminds me obviously a lot of that. And this is well done. I appreciate this style. Okay, back to that one. Yeah, let's just look at all these, man. Beautiful pieces to look at. Good Darth Maul piece. This is cool. Opening it up. Yeah, okay. Viking with a giant snake. Poison. Great action. Look at that. Guys, this is how you do a good action scene. Somebody's fighting. Look how that snake is wrapping around him. He's pulling everything about, every piece of this guy is doing something. This arm up here is fighting the snake, holding the shield. This foot is pushing off the snake, trying to free himself and steady himself. This foot is pushing down here and it's being wrapped around. This arm is fighting against this one. His face, he's yelling. So he's getting every piece of this thing and just adding action in action and really creating a dynamic scene about it. Love it. I'm afraid, dude, I don't have a lot of critique for you here. I don't have any critique for you here. It's obvious that this fella or girl, I'm sorry, I don't know gender without reading more, they know what they're doing. So this is another good kind of surreal, abstract, almost sort of piece, but it's well done. It has its own dynamic. It creates its own unique composition, and I don't know what the story is, but I don't necessarily have to. It flows my eye around. He has a good balance of colors and stuff. That's good. This is dynamic, very interesting. He's got a bullet in his mouth with smoke coming off of it. I like it. What can I say? surely you're getting work because these are beautiful pieces. All right, that looks like about everything. Concept art. Let's take a look at some of your concept art. What are you doing concept art for? I guess this is just now all of you and me enjoying looking at this guy's artwork. This guy's cool. I like this. So look at a couple of things that he's doing right here. And this is something I suggest. If you go look at somebody's gallery and they're doing something good, you look at it and you go like, man, that's some good pieces. One of the most invaluable things that you can do is figure out why. Why does the bad art look bad and why does the good art look good? And if you can break it down and you can understand that, then you can start applying that in your own work. So, some of the things that he's doing good here, and I'd suggest you pay attention to, is the repetition of the pattern on this character. That's something I talked about in my character design book. I'm sure he didn't read it to come up with the idea, but it is one of the key things about character design. So he's got this pattern of all these sort of ribbed pieces over and over and over, over and over and over, over and over and over. You just see them all over this piece. And he's also keeping in a pretty narrow shape family. He's using a lot of flat edges, like very geometric angles. He doesn't have a lot of circles. He doesn't have squiggly lines. He has angles, like hexagonal angles. He does have a little curved line here on this sort of mantelpiece. So he combines it with these squared. So like if he had a little flourishy end on that, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't fit with the character design. But he doesn't. So that's cool. Okay. This guy. Oh, I like this guy. Don't know what it's for. This is cool. All right. Okay. Again, he's kind of keeping in the same shape family. He's getting a little more curved pieces into this one. That's nice. Do the feet. That's a nice way to do the feet. Oh, these things are massive. 139 feet. Okay, that's cool. Railgun. The size of a tanker. Yeah. Sorry, no critiques. I'm just sitting here enjoying these. Oh, okay. I recognize this. I came across this somewhere. I remember seeing this. Yeah, this is a fun dude. A couple of different color variations. Back view. This is one of the most unique characters I've come across in a long time. And I like that you still feel like you could connect with this guy because he has enough of a humanoid feature. He's got shoulders, neck, eyes, mouth, but it's also still very alien. And working in the sort of membrane thing on the back, that's really cool. I like that. Something else to pay attention to is, again, patterns. This guy is very aware of how to use graphical imagery and graphical patterns in order to enhance his characters. So he's got the stripes, big bold stripes on this one. He's got the sort of, underwater sort of aquatic pattern on this one. More of a zebra stripe here. These are all just very graphic and have helped this guy stand out really well. Dude, this guy is wicked. I love it. Love it. Look at that. So much attitude just in the pose. Really good. Keeping that muted color scheme, making him feel like a creature of the dark. Yeah. Okay, cool. Dinosaur thing. Oh, what was that? Okay, this is pretty cool. He's keeping some consistency. Like, one of the things he's doing here, again, pay attention to this. Repeated patterns. He's got the big dark hair thing here, and he's also got it here. Now, he doesn't have the hair on the feet, but he uses the same color down there, which is awesome. He's got this eyeball thing coming off the top of the head, and on the shoulder, and on the belly, and on the arm. So he keeps that pattern repeating. He's got the fabric wrapped around here, fabric wrapped around the legs. So that's a good way to create a consistency to your character and generally make it more professional. If you use a element like the eyeballs, if he only used the eyeballs right there on the shoulder, it would make them pretty much the focus of the character. And I don't think that's what he was going for. So if you want to make something unique and stand out, then make it the only time that particular design element is used on that character. If you want to give a more consistency to the character, then you want to use it multiple times like he has here. Okay, what would I suggest to this dude? I really wouldn't. I mean, this guy's a professional. He knows what he's doing here. And I don't know, I wish him the best. I think if anything, oh, okay, he's got some paintings here. Cool. Okay, these are completely different. Concept art was awesome. Yeah, I'm familiar with some of these. I know I've come across this one at some point. That's a fantastic piece. I'm a sucker for some space images, so yeah, there we go. That's beautiful. Look how a good lighting. Look how purposeful this lighting is. That's awesome. And again, just this is sort of random scene. Like, it doesn't tell us what all is going on here, which is just pulled off so well. I love it. Yeah, this one, I'm familiar with that one. The old one, I came across that. I think I saw these on ArtStation at some point. Okay, this is a magic image. So maybe I came across it with magic. Nope, sorry, no critiques. That's awesome, beautiful work. Okay, well, switch over here. I don't want to run too much longer. We're almost at 2 hours right now. But let's hit some more questions, though. Oh, if I could jump. Yep, jump me down to the bottom. Jump me down. Wish you could be Clint's wife. I'm sorry, but I got a girlfriend. She is awesome. And I don't have any plans of letting her go. You want to get up food. You want to get up and get food, but don't want to miss this. This, of course, like I said earlier, will be posted online if you want to go back and watch anything that you missed. Honestly, if you guys, I'd suggest you go out there and look at that guy's gallery. That's a good gallery to go keep an eye on, and you can learn some stuff from that guy. I'm going to post his gallery out here, and then everybody can go out there and take a look. All right, Clint, any advice to avoid being tired or sleepy during the day? Any specific diet you recommend? A good clean diet. Like, I try to eat pretty healthy. I love me some pizza occasionally, but I think one of the best ways to avoid crashing during the day is really lowering the sugar content. And for me, I used to drink probably about a soda a day. Dr. Pepper was my favorite. And I just found out that when I cut out my soft drinks, I found at first I had a withdrawal, but after that I had a lot more energy and I didn't have that big crash during the day. So that would be a big one. Something else I would say is that in the better shape you are, the more fit that you are, the more energy you're going to just naturally have. For instance, muscles that are fit will produce many times more energy and be many times more effective than cells that are not fit. So the more that you work out, the more energy your body will naturally be producing during the day. I also I put a pull-up bar in my kitchen doorway. So when I go to the kitchen, grab some food or whatever, got to do some couple of pull-ups before I hit back to the computer. And just keeping that blood flowing, honestly helps give you a bit more energy. Just some basic recommendations. Sugar is probably the biggest one. Mm-hmm. Is this person in this chat, Pamela asked, that we're looking at that gallery? I don't know. Maybe. He just had submitted that at some point, probably a year ago, and I don't know if he's in the chat or not. Okay. Okay, I missed some really good questions up here, and I want to... Okay, I'm going to back up and start with Morzalis. That's Sarah, that's you, isn't it? Hey, welcome. Glad you're with us, sir. Enjoyed having you on the stream, a month ago or whatever it was. I thought, when you're coming across artist block or having trouble with an aspect of your piece, what are some techniques that you use to overcome it? Dang right, that's a good question. Everybody will come across artist block at some point. Now, a couple of ideas to deal with artist block. For me, what I usually do is, one, if I am completely exhausted, I just go to bed. I turn in and I get some sleep. Usually I will have artist block if I am just creating nonstop for multiple days and I've not got enough sleep. So that's, again, work-life balance. You got to have sleep. Literally, there is it's like an enzyme, a chemical in your brain that lets you make decisions. And when you kind of your brain can only make so much so fast. And when you start getting low on that, you can't think as well. So when you sleep, your body can produce more and you're ready to go again. Something else to do is get feedback. So if you've got some art colleagues, if you have an art mentor, then put it out there, get some feedback, get it from a different angle. Something I like to do is also try to find a really good artist who has done a similar piece and see how did they solve their problem. So, how do I draw a crystal? Well, how did somebody else draw a crystal? What steps did they go through? How can I learn from them? Those are all some different things to try. Yeah. How do you feel about grayscale to color painting? It's a tried and true approach. I don't have any problem with it. I've used it many times. I don't think it is the one and only best approach, but it is a really good one, especially if you're kind of a little overwhelmed with the piece. Then I would say breaking it down to smaller steps, working with the lines, figuring out all the drawing perspective, blocking in everything. Then you do all your shading in black and white. Then you do your colors. Then you do all of your edge work and all that stuff. And by breaking it out into steps, it's a little less overwhelming. It might take a little bit longer. But yeah, completely good with it. Done it before. Recommended if it works for you. For example, do you do studies or come back to it later? Oh, yeah, if it's possible. Now, on a commission, I don't usually have times. A follow-up to her question, when you have an artist block, what do you do? Do I do studies? If I have the time to put it off, I might put it off for a day or two and come back to it. Or I also might just come up with a new design. It is very possible that I worked myself into a corner and I'm trying to just fix a sinking ship and I'm not going to be able to fix it and I just need to build a new ship. So that's something that you just need experience with, honestly. I know on one hand I say push through the hard times and make it work, but on the other hand it's learning when not to and just say bite the bullet and restart. So you got to be open to both of those, and the more you do it, the more you'll learn which one is which and which is the right decision at that time. Have I ever done any fan art? Yes, I have. Not in a long time though. As a kid, I did fan art. I draw, Sonic the Hedgehog and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. But I haven't done. I'm trying to think of the last fan art I've done. Honestly, again, the closest thing to fan art that I've done is I did a cybernetic android head, cyber brain, inspired from the Ghost in the Shell animated opening sequence. And so it wasn't a direct adaptation, but it was definitely inspired by that. So that's the closest thing in the last 5 years. Why don't you have a super chat or sponsor bar on your YouTube stream? Pamela, good question. The answer is I'm new to it and I just have not looked into it. I would like to start doing this weekly. There seems to be enough interest. One thing is I just wanted to know if there was enough interest for me to keep doing this. And it looks like there is, and it looks like you guys are asking a lot of great questions and you're enjoying it. So a super chat and sponsor bar, I will just need to look into it. I think those are both great. I appreciate the reminder on that. Grayscale color takes a lot of time, but it can take the guesswork out of color. Yep. Regarding photo bashing, is there a possibility to infringe copyright for using photos taken by others? Federico asks this. Absolutely, there is a possibility to infringe on copyright. So, okay, in my latest video, and I'm not just trying to plug the video, but it is relevant to what this subject is. So in the latest video I did, that's available for purchase, which is Alice in Neon. We got the Alice in Wonderland story and doing a cyberpunk adaptation or sort of twist on the story. And I do 2 environment, cyberpunk, sci-fi images of a city. And I used photo bashing for that. So one of the things is, okay, if you want to go see that, you can pick it up on my website. Okay, and I cover that. Now, if you want to do it and you want to share that, then make sure you are buying stock photos that are royalty-free, meant to be used for photo bashing or for artist reference. You can find some for free on DeviantART.com. And you need to make sure under their stock rules that it is available to be used like that. Otherwise, what I would suggest is, and again, I'll just plug another site. I don't get anything from plugging them, but go to photobash.org. I'll type that in. Photobash.org for stock photos for photo bashing. Go figure. A friend of mine, Jonas, who's also a magic artist, he puts on the site, and if you go out there and purchase any of those photo packs, then you are owning the right to use those in any of your photo bashing or any of your creation stuff. And that way you do not have to worry about infringing on copyrights. Those are all yours to use how you want. And I have looked at multiple sites for stock photos to use for those purposes. And frankly speaking, photobash.org is the best one I have come across because they are really high quality photos. I mean, like, we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of pixels, very high HD quality photos, and they're very sharp, and they take photos of things that an artist would want to actually use in photo bashing that would be very useful from angles that you find useful. I've bought about 10 packs from there myself and have been very pleased with the quality, so I'd recommend them. Do I have any recommendations for art business books? Excellent question. Or general business books? Yes. Business books. I would normally want to turn around and point at my cabinet back there because I have a whole stack of business books. A couple that I've read. One is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Old book, but that's a good one. Another book to look at is The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss. And that is all about just optimizing your time and optimizing your system. If you're wanting to get a better idea of how to promote your work. How to put on sales and how to get more out of your business, how to optimize your business, pick up a book called Instant Income. So I'll put that in there. Instant Income is a good one. Dave Ramsey. I am a follower of pretty much everything that Dave Ramsey puts out on finances for personal and for business. I'm not a big fan of using debt. I hate being in debt, so I try to avoid it at all costs. And I think that's a good business practice. So I would recommend you go take a look at those guys. Yeah, I will cover that more in maybe next time when I have time to actually look at my books, and I will pull those up and I will show those to you and make a couple of points on that. Good question. Something I will say on that topic is there is two things that you have to learn how to do. Well, in any business, but let's say as an artist. You have to have the ability to make money. You have to have the ability to manage money. And if either one, if you can't do both, then you're stuck. All right? If you can make money really well, but you can't manage it, it's no good to you. But if you can't make money, but you could manage it really well, that's not good to you either. So you have to learn how to make money, that is, do good enough work and find the clients and get it out there. And you have to learn how to manage it so you keep your business afloat and you can pay your bills. And then if you had the two of them together, you're going to actually be able to make a living. That's also one of the shortcomings that I see with art school is maybe they do teach you how to make a living. You have the skills doing it, but they don't teach you actually how to run a business and manage your money. And so you'd fail on that side. Yeah. Okay, I see some other questions here, but some of you other guys are already answering those, so I'm not going to answer them. You're doing a fine job of answering some of the straightforward questions. I do read all my YouTube comments, so if you do put your portfolio out there on one of the links, I will find it and I will put it in my link, in my list. Hey, Kenna, thank you for joining me. Have a good night. I know a lot of you are living way, way out of my time zone, so I appreciate you staying up or getting up early or wherever you are in the world and joining me. Okay, now we're back down here closer. Okay. You know what? Right now, can I pull up a list here? Let's do the cube brush giveaway. All right, yeah, let's do that. This is a good time to do it. So what I will do is I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to just randomly go through the chat and stop somewhere, and whoever's name's at the top is going to win. That is about as random as I can make it. And what I will need you to do if you win is send me a private message here on YouTube and send me your, just send me a private message so I can contact you. And I will need to send your information over to QBrush and they will make sure to get you that information, get you that coupon code or whatever, however they're handling it on their side. I do not have that information. She said, pass you over there. So, all right, let's see who we got. I'm going to grab this and I'm going up and down, up and down. I'm going to stop right there. And who's at the top? Person at the top is G Castro 3D. I will put your name in here. G Castro 3D. You have won the $25 QBrush giveaway. So what you can do is send me a message. I will get you in contact with the person of QBrush, and then you can go buy whatever educational art, video, or brushes, or whatever you want. And I'm also going to put that on my list so I don't forget who it was. Okay, G Castro 3D. Yeah, absolutely. Congrats. And I will go ahead and tell you guys that I was talking with a contact over there at CubeBrush, and they are very open for this being possibly a continual thing for the live streams, that they can be ponying up some more CubeBrush dollars, which is fantastic. I will keep talking to them about that. And what if he doesn't answer? Then maybe next time we will be doing a double giveaway. If I don't hear from him by next week, then I will talk to them about doing a double giveaway. Yeah, I think that would be fair enough. Oh, G Castro is here. Congratulations. If you don't know where to start over there on CubeBrush and you don't know whose video to pick up, the Mark Burnett's stuff, it is usually promoted pretty much on the front page, but they are very high quality, and there is a good feedback system. They do have stars where things are rated by people, and there are good comment systems. You can read people's comments on the stuff. So, yeah, that's a good way to figure out something that's good. Yeah. All right, is there any other questions I want to hit up here? You know what, let's go for just a little bit longer than... I don't want to go too long because the hurricane storm is finally getting up this way, and storms have a tendency to knock out the power around here. Yeah. Adrian asks, what are good things to study from life? Good things to study from life. Drawing people. Have you never drawn people from life? Portraits even. Just simple. Have somebody sit there. That's a good thing. Just getting your sketchbook. Going outside. Drawing some trees. Drawing some foliage. Drawing foliage and nature from life is a really good study in learning how to simplify a subject matter. Because when you go out there, there's just far too much information for you to possibly put in all those details. So you have to learn ways in order to get the gist of what you're viewing without actually having to copy all of that information down. So that's something good. He says, limit processed food. They're full of sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. Completely agree. Please limit processed food. Regarding color moods, if you're familiar with Kevin Dart's use of color, how do you study these kinds of variations or tints? That name doesn't ring a bell. Sorry, I can't give you an answer on that one. I don't know offhand what his approach is. Oh, Kenna likes the streams. Thank you. Appreciate a lot of positive feedback from you guys enjoying the stream. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I enjoy doing these myself. Sorry, sir. I try friend have Discord. You community, yes. Poofa Kaboom. About Discord, I am looking or considering, it's on my list to look into doing a Discord. I do not have one set up. There is some good options for Discord though. So, not right now, but maybe in the future. I do have a bit of I have a private group on Facebook for my patrons, my patrons in the top 2 tiers. So if you're looking for that, you could join that if you became one of the $20 or $30 patrons. But that's the only community group I really have. Discord is growing beyond just being games. So, yeah, I would consider that. It's very good for games, but there is wider use. Yes, something else on CubeBrush. Even if you guys didn't win the CubeBrush challenge, which obviously he was the only one that did, there is some free stuff out there. There is some quality free stuff out there So it's worth going out there and taking a look around. I've downloaded several free things that have been useful. A couple of free like palette programs, brushes, and reference stock photo packs. Like we're talking about the photo bashing. There's some good free stock packs out there on that. Yeah. Question: when it comes to Puffed Print asks, when it comes to your critiquing portfolios and such, do you also allow fan art? I seem to have a fear of posting my original work, so I mainly post fan art and learn from comments. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem doing a critique of a fan art. I can still critique it simply on a execution standpoint. You obviously would not have the same amount of originality to it because you didn't come up with a character or whatever you're doing the fan art of. But I can always, critique the execution, so that's okay. But if you are trying to get work, if this is your professional portfolio, then I would suggest limiting your fan art, because it's kind of a mark of an amateur to do a lot of fan art. And a client usually wants to see that you can come up with your own original ideas. A lot of times a client is looking for original ideas, so they're going to come to you and say, hey, can you come up with this original character? But if they see that you have never come up with your own character or your own place, then they're not going to feel real confident in doing that. All right, a lot of people, a lot of congratulations to him. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, it is 8:13. I think it is about time that I go ahead and pull off. We're about 2 hours right now. Thank you very much for everybody joining this stream. And unless, I will post out on my social medias about a stream for next week. If you do not follow me right now on Facebook, I'll put it out there, and that is where I will announce Purely Art. I will announce out there when the next stream is. It will probably be next Monday at the same time, 6. I was going to do it on Wednesday, but some things in my schedule got changed around. So check out there, and if you want to support this channel or want to get in on any of my art challenges, which I've started as a monthly deal, or get in on the monthly art education videos, ebooks, that sort of thing, then become a patron. That is over at patreon.com/swatches. And this month we will be doing a video on the creation of Liliana, which I did for the Amonkhet set. So, absolutely. Thank you again for everybody, and until you see you next time, keep drawing.